What bullcrapous insect needs to go extinct? Specifically that one fly that decides your nostril or mouth is best place to fly around. F that guy. I know it's a good thing insects aren't too smart. But the stupidity of a lot of these insects is just funny. Horseflies. Glad someone else said this, they're effing mean, persistent, and that bite is brutal. It's like getting burned with a cigarette. Worse, deer flies. Used to work up in the mountains and I can tell you their bites hurt like hell. They're called Brahms in Germany for a reason. They bite you and you stop because it feels like your bone is going to break from the pain. Botflies. Should be the top of the list. Don't Google them. Why did you tell me not to Google? That's like saying don't think about the game. Edit, I regret nothing. F. Since that goddamn thread it's been everywhere, I've lost about 5 times now. I was effing 8 years and you absolute craphead. Botflies. Botflies, also known as warble flies, heel flies, and gadflies, are a family of flies technically known as the Estridae. Their larvae are internal parasites of mammals, some species growing in the host's flesh and others within the gut. The parasites that cause nodding disease are worse. An interesting hypothesis is certain types of epilepsy may be triggered by an initial parasitic infection followed by an immune system overreaction that targets brain tissue. Web link. Chiggers. F those things. I have scars all up my legs from those things because I didn't know what the hell they were when I went to Missouri. I get itchy just thinking about them. Agreed. Worked in Tennessee and southern eel. You step into a chigger cluster and those bites are the most irritating I've had. 2 weeks or so to properly heal and will scar. At least you can usually see the ticks. You most likely will never see these things. I grew up in TN and mom would put clear nail polish on the bumps. I think it worked. I grew up in Washington State and we don't have them here, so when I went to Wichita, Kansas, I was woefully unprepared. I made the mistake of walking through some grass in shorts and sandals. Woo buddy. I got bit up like no tomorrow. It looked like I had chickenpox all over my legs. They itched so badly and no creams would soothe the itch, so someone suggested clear nail polish. I scoffed at the idea, until that night. I was woken up with the most intense itch of my life. I tried everything to relieve it, but nothing worked. I finally broke down and decided I would try the nail polish. The only dilemma was that I didn't have clear nail polish. I had white and hot pink. I went with white, but by God it worked. I can attest to that. Lol. I'm unaware of these insects? What in the Kentucky Fried F is a chigger? Hardcore mites that feed on skin in their larval stage. That sounds horrible. Glad I can stay safe on the other side of the planet from those bastards. Feel free to not look up the range for the class of mite. Little bitty red insects that hide in tall grass or vegetation and active in hot weather. They crawl up your legs onto all the dark warm places, usually focused on the groin. Also the armpits, thighs, ankles. They itch so effing bad all you want to do is scream and scratch your balls. Glad you mentioned chiggers. I never hear anyone talk about them and almost forgot. When I was a kid I played in the grass at my grandparents' house. I got bite up by these. Got bumps and itches all up on my prepubescent ball sack and had to tell my grandparents, and then my uncle took a look at my ball sack and said it was chiggers. I thought the name was funny, but it was pretty unpleasant. Do they target the ball sack or was that just me? Not just you. I've had my share of chigger bites, but the one I remember most was getting bit on my little McNuggets at 4-H camp one year. Bedbugs. Sneaky little bastards. Was taking the bus one day to work when I noticed a bug on my hand and just flicked it, but something in my mind was telling me that I've seen that bug before but couldn't put it in my head, so I ignored it. Next thing I knew I saw another and then looked between the seat and there were effing hundreds of those little effers between the seat of the bus. I got up and told the bus driver she has bedbugs in the bus and she was like okay. Didn't do anything about it. Burn the bus. I actually bought a car a few weeks later after that incident. Haven't taken public transportation in like 6 or 7 years already because of that. That was the car salesman's evil plan. Just when you thought bedbugs couldn't get any worse, they start selling used cars. I shivered while reading. We had a bad case of bedbugs for about 6 months at home and I often was the victim. It was horrible to find red marks all over my body. It was very itchy and it left ugly marks for a while. When I was younger, I thought bedbugs were microscopic for some reason. Fast forward many years later when I start seeing tiny black/brown dots crawling up the walls every now and then. I eventually started breaking out all over my arms and assumed I had an allergy I never knew about. It was so freaking itchy. Later on, I found some of those crawling dots in my bed, did some research, and learned they were bedbugs. No matter how many times we washed the sheets and sprayed down the mattresses and couches, they reappeared. Eventually I got an inflatable mattress and slept on the floor in a different room. They somehow found me there eventually. One day while on my laptop on the floor, I felt a small itch and saw several bedbugs under my knee. I turned on the lights, I only had a lamp on beforehand, and, I crap you not, there was a effing trail of them along the carpet, all toward my direction. Okay, I'm going on a tangent now. But I guess I'm saying all of this to confirm that those effers are indeed traumatizing. In the end, we came to the conclusion that the best thing to do was get new furniture. They are somehow in one of our new couches now. But I haven't seen them in my new bed at least. Dude, if they're on your new furniture, it's only a matter of time until they're in your bed. Address it now before they spread. They don't only hide in beds and couches. If I remember correctly, they can hide in the walls like in plugs and desks. Should get a professional if you can. 100%, this, only reason we got rid of them is because of Terminex. Luckily we already had a contract with them and just added it on for 12 months. We also got rid of so much stuff, pretty much everything went from the curtains to the rugs. If it had fabric and wasn't washable, it was gone unless it was a family heirloom. And that stuff was put up in trash bags in a shed for a year before I pulled it out and doused it with rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is going to be your best friend if you ever have bed bugs. That and trash bags. And they're ecologically useless. Nothing eats them. They're literally a parasite in every sense of the word. They serve no purpose other than to be a nuisance to us. Even mosquitoes serve some purpose in the wild. Animals eat mozzies and the male ones pollinate flowers, but bed bugs are scum. Nothing eats them. Yes. House centipedes eat them. But then, you have house centipedes. Bed bugs are one thing. But if I saw a effing centipede in my house, I'm never stepping foot in there again. Edit. Lots of people are saying bed bugs are worse. I've never had them, so I really wouldn't know. However, centipedes look disgusting to me, lol, as with cockroaches and crickets. That's why they're called house centipedes. That's what they take from you. House centipedes are super helpful, but they are eldritch horrors. Centipedes never have 100 legs, which is why you can't trust them. Dogs are cool, you never hear them try to tell you they are bipeds. Where I live we call them thousand-leggers and they are very common. They are pretty fast too and creep the F out of you when you see one on your wall. I know they are a beneficial insect, but nope. Not on my wall. I know they're in my house. As long as I don't see them, I'm perfectly fine with the benefit they provide. If I do see them, well, hopefully he's got enough buddies hiding out to make up for the loss of their comrade. You've clearly never had bed bugs. Centipedes are a nuisance only because they're weird looking. Having bed bugs is effing torture. Especially if you don't have $2K to drop on getting a professional to remove them. Saw one once in my parents' house. Big one, just casually crawling along the baseboard. It took all of us a moment to realize it was real, one of those things that just doesn't compute. They're so smug. That's a bed bug, everything's a joke. Ticks, seriously, those things can go F themselves. Edit. Well, turns out ticks aren't insects but arachnids, but still, F them. Effing Lyme disease. I think that's the one that makes people allergic to red meat. No, it's not. The Lone Star tick can make you allergic to red meat. Lyme disease is generally carried by the deer tick. Ah, I had a feeling I was mistaken. Well, both are equally crafty. Ticks can go die. Fleas. F fleas. This message sponsored by Dog. Post supported by Cat Gang. Such unity, at last. Sponsored by Human 2, having an infestation sucks. Can't even walk to your own gate without being assaulted. Cockroaches. Anyone who has ever lived in a roach-infested place will understand how miserable they make your place of living. Lived in a roach-infested hellhole for 3 years when I was a kid. Can confirm, they make life miserable. To this day I can't eat sugar smacks because there was a roach in my bowl once, but I didn't know until it was too late. Pretty sure I have cockroach-related asthma from living there so long. If I believed in hell, the devil would be a cockroach. I can't eat butter chicken now because mine had part of a whole roasted cardamom pod shell that looked like a cockroach, and that was enough. I've had roaches fall into my water cup besides my bed. Not once or twice, probably like 7 times by now, and the last time, I wasn't so lucky to catch it in time. I can never drink water without having to turn on a light and look in the cup again. I had 2 walk on my face while asleep. I have never been so traumatized in my life. God, yes. We had a massive infestation, and kept telling the landlords that obviously the regular spray wasn't doing crap. They did a bug bomb once, which killed a bunch at once, then we were assured they'd be all dead in a couple weeks. Couple weeks went by, I think the population doubled. I asked what the hell, now they told me it'd be a couple months, then blamed me for making it worse because I had a couple tomatoes ripening on the counter and we had coffee in the pot. We regularly kept the place clean, and it did nothing. My son and I are autistic and have anxiety issues, so we were super jumpy all the time. And when you have a lot, you can smell them and it's nauseating, especially if you've got a ton, say, behind your dishwasher, and every time you run it, now you've got hot roach vapor. They got everywhere. The worst was when I discovered they'd set up a nest in my CPAP and I'd apparently been huffing the things for I don't know how long. Yeah, I screamed and damn near puked. And what with the pandemic, of course they weren't doing spraying on the regular. My husband finally bought 2 enormous bottles of boric acid, cleaned out all the cabinets, and just poured it on every crack. Took a month or so, and they're not all gone, but they're down to about the small amount you see in an apartment, and maybe, once they start spraying again, it'll actually take them completely out. Max Force FC Magnum. Buddy of mine works in the bug biz, and says this stuff is amazing at knocking out infestations. Takes a couple months because you have to wait for eggs to hatch so those new ones get poisoned too. You can get it on Amazon. Get some Advion cockroach gel. It's one of the best ways to kill roaches, and it's very similar to what an actual exterminator would use. Hot roach vapor. Not going to lie, I gagged a little. Mosquitoes. I work in malaria research and I can confirm that those insects are vaginas. I think some scientists made a species of mosquito unable to get malaria. I can't remember exactly where I read that, so I might be wrong. Yeah, I've heard a bit about that too. Certainly an interesting approach. I've never gotten malaria from a mosquito, but I still effing hate mosquitoes. I don't need a scientist to tell me when it's okay to not hate a mosquito. Scientists made a species of mosquito. What? Why? What kind of monster makes more of them? It's so that they reproduce with the species that give humans malaria, making children that don't have malaria, effectively saving us from them without making them go extinct. There's actually 2 strains of strategy here. If I recall correctly, there's a breed that contains knockout genes that cause offspring to be sterile, and then you've got what they have referenced, the immune ones, which have been engineered to replace the non-immune ones over the course of generations. There was a UN vote to have mosquitoes eradicated, and I know the Bill Gates Foundation was involved with many malaria treatments, including kill programs via preventing the birth of female mosquitoes after a generation or 2. Web link. Just curios, and I may sound dumb. I totally agree with you on this, But does mosquitoes have any beneficial effect to nature or to Earth in general? Not a dumb question, a great question. Short answer, yes. They're a food source and pollinators multiplied by every climate they've adapted to, which are almost all of them. Deserts of Arizona, tundra of Alaska, swamps of Florida, they're everywhere. Just to elaborate a bit more, plenty of research has been done showing that the ecological role of the adults could easily be filled, or is already done better, by another species. I see this brought up often when the issue of eliminating mosquitoes reappears in discussion. However, the larval and nymph stages are a very important part of their aquatic ecosystems. Frogs, tadpoles, fish, dragonfly nymphs, etc. are provided a huge food source by mosquito young. Marshlands and ponds across the world are already facing disaster and destruction from pollution and encroachment, and it doesn't take much to disrupt their already fragile balance even further. There are species of pitcher plant whose survival seems to depend on the mosquito larvae hatched inside that control microorganism populations and organic detritus that would kill the plant. There are species of frog in my region that prefer to lay their eggs in smaller pools of water because they and the hatchlings will be safe from predators like fish, turtles, and even other frogs. Without the mosquitoes also laying eggs in those same pools, what will the tadpoles and froglings eat? Every single living thing on this planet is important in some way, whether we can see the reason or not. Except bedbugs and those fish that swim up your pee stream to feed on your dick. I always like to hear the scientific names for insects. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.